And welcome back to another week on Beam City Sports 96.5 FM. This is KUBU Radio and your host, Tyler Texera, here again with fellow co-host Luke Mitchell. And we got a lot to jump into this week. Luke, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Welcome back to another episode of Beam City Sports. Welcome back all listeners worldwide in Sacramento. Anybody listening to on the app, on the radio, on YouTube. Hope everybody's doing good. Hope everybody had a good week.
Yeah, if you are listening on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and like it, share it, comment. And if you're listening on the radio, thanks again for tuning in to another week. And we got a lot to jump into today. Our main topics for the day are we are ranking the top 10 power forwards in the NBA. Also, we're going to talk about De'Aaron Fox getting his own signature shoe. And then we will jump into 1140's top 40 Sacramento Kings of all time. They made a rankings list as well. And then we will close it out with some Major League Baseball and some NFL news.
Great, exciting episode. Very excited about it.
Yeah, all right. So we'll start it off with a bang. We are going to jump into our power forward list. And my number 10, just to start it off quickly, is Jaren Jackson Jr. from the Memphis Grizzlies. He is my number 10 ranked power forward in the NBA. Who's your number 10?
I got Scotty Barnes at number 10.
All right.
I like my boy Scotty.
Yeah.
I'm surprised with Jaren Jackson at number 10 for your list.
Yeah.
I thought he would be a little bit higher, not going to lie.
Yeah, I am a little low on Jaren Jackson. He definitely has the counting stats, and he won Defensive Player of the Year 2 years ago, which definitely plays a part into this. But, he's a big man. He's almost 7 feet tall. He averaged almost 23 points a game last year. But he's really struggles on the rebounding aspect, which I think makes him not a center and puts him lower on the list for me. He only averaged 5 rebounds a game last year as almost a 7-footer, which is kind of crazy to think about.
That is it's a little weak.
Yeah.
7 feet. That's a big time. And then he's also he's not a skinny guy. He's got some muscle on him. So I do see that. I'm still a little surprised. And then he does only average 2 assists. So you'd expect him to be able to kick it out pretty well. Mm-hmm. Trying to get a little bit more assists, but
yeah.
All right.
And a few years ago in the FIBA, I think this was 2 years ago now, we saw Jaren Jackson was really the only big man on the FIBA world team for the US, and they really counted on him to get a ton of rebounds and protect that rim, and he really struggled, and it really showed how much that is a weakness in his game. And last year with Memphis, having Jaw out and really relying on him a lot, he did provide some scoring, obviously, but the rebounding and his defense was still pretty good, but the rebounding just puts him lower on my list for me.
Okay.
It's lower than these other guys.
Yeah.
What do you think about Scotty Barnes?
I just love his style. His game style, he's a little wild. I mean, I will say that. But with his stats going up for the past, ever since he started, he's only improved. I think he's going to be a star up there in Toronto. I think he'll probably be their number 2 option, maybe number 1 option on the scoring side. He was at 15 points per game in 2022, another 15 2023, and then up to 19 last year. I think he's going to be up around 22 points, maybe 23 next year, and then another all-star selection.
Yeah.
And then we talk about rebounds. He's almost at 10 a game, damn near.
Yeah. And he's definitely shorter than Jaren Jackson and not much of a big man compared to him. But yeah, his rebounding is just a huge part of his game. One of the best defenders on the perimeter and on the inside in the NBA.
Yeah.
He's higher on my list though. I really love Scotty Barnes and his game. I think he has star potential compared to some of these other guys that are more, second or third options. Like you said, Scotty Barnes definitely could be that number 1 option for the Raptors next year for sure. So my number 9 is Julius Randle from the New York Knicks. Last year he averaged 24 a game on almost 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and he only played 46 games though. He got hurt the second half of the year, but he did make his 3rd All-Star game, and he just always puts up the counting stats.
Yeah, very consistent.
Yeah, he is very consistent with the counting stats, but the downside of Julius Randle is, when you're watching the game, he really just slows the game down. He's a ball stopper.
A little bit.
Doesn't look to swing the ball, even though he averaged 5 assists. Kind of surprising to me. He just had the ball in his hands a lot for the assist numbers.
I agree with that with Julius. He is a little bit higher on my list for other reasons. I think he's a great team ball player. And, you say the assist, he doesn't like to swing it, but I think he fills in the right spots where it's the hidden points, the plus minus points where he gets it and just is in the right spot and makes the right things happen for his other teammates to just get in the right position and make things go down.
Yeah, Julius definitely needs a big year coming up with this New York Knicks team after they had a pretty magical run in the playoffs last year, him being injured and Brunson really taking that role as the complete leader of the team, and then other guys like Josh Hart, DiVincenzo really stepped up. So Julius Randle's kind of going to have to earn his spot. He's going to start, but he's going to have to earn some touches with this New York Knicks team, especially after picking up Mikal.
Yeah. And then I did just see a couple of articles pop up. That Julius is in a potential trade package.
Oh, yeah.
With his certain contract right now. It's not super expensive, kind of at the end of it, too. And then just with the team that they have building right now, I mean, it might not fit as well as they think. Like you said, it slows down a little bit. I feel like this team is a little bit more fast-paced.
Yeah.
But he still is a little bit higher for me on my list.
Yeah, that is a good point. I do think the fit is a big part coming into next year. And if he doesn't fit, if we see in the first half of the year that he's kind of making this offense not how it was last year without him, that they definitely will move him.
Yeah.
They definitely won't be afraid to move him. They could probably get something pretty good for him back. A lot of teams would love to have 24 points and 9 rebounds on their team.
Yeah, that's good points right there. Good stats. Any team would take that down low for sure.
Oh, yeah. So who's your number 9?
Number 9, I got Pascal Siakam.
Oh, that's pretty low.
It's a little low. I think there's a lot of people that are still better than him.
Yeah.
I also think he's kind of at the end of his peak in his career. Him going to Indiana, though, I think that's the best thing that could have happened to his career.
I can agree with that.
There was a big change in Toronto, the complete rebuild, and he wasn't really kind of fitting it. Going into Indiana with Tyrese Halliburton and that young team over there, I think it's a perfect fit where he could be in a leadership role, still get a lot of minutes in there, and then, he's super consistent. Again, like he can shoot the ball, super lengthy, so when he gets down low, he can make a wild shot out of nowhere. And then, again, lengthy, so he can get his arms up and play good D down low as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Pascal. I do think I agree with you on the fact that going to Indiana is like the best thing that could have happened to him, really, because we saw in Toronto when they won the championship. I know you were there at the game they won the championship back in 2019.
That was amazing.
Yeah, you were in a suite that game next to Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady.
Oh, I got a picture of that.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. But yeah, Pascal in that finals, before that final started, I really was not high on his game. Didn't think he was that good of a player, but he killed the Warriors in that finals. Ever since then, he's been a great number 2 option in my eyes. But ever since Toronto moved on from Kawhi, and they've really counted on him to be that number 1, I just don't think that's the role that you want him in.
Nah.
He's a perfect number 2, though, and that's why going to Indiana, playing with a young star like Tyrese Halliburton is going to be huge for him.
Kind of revitalizes his youthness.
Exactly. And last year, he averaged 21 on 7 rebounds in the regular season, and he played very well in the playoffs as well. I do remember in that first round when they played against the Milwaukee Bucks, he was definitely the number 1 scoring option for that team. And that really, really helped them beat the Bucks the first round, even beat the Knicks in the second round. And he only went up in the playoffs with his production, so almost 22 a game.
And people say that they had like an easy road in the playoffs, but it's playoff basketball. It's not easy no matter what.
You got to play who's in front of you.
You got to play.
Yeah. So he was your number 9.
He's my number 9.
Okay, wow.
Moving on to number 8.
Yeah, number 8 for me was Scotty Barnes, who we just talked about a lot.
Okay.
I think he's going to have a huge year coming up. And I think his playmaking is really underrated to me. He averaged 6 assists a game last year. And I think he can be like kind of a like Giannis type of player where he's like that power forward that can take the ball up the floor, lead the offense, and get a bucket whenever he wants. Also, like I said earlier, I think he's one of the best defenders in the NBA already. Could win some defensive player of the years coming up.
That would be pretty awesome. I just think he needs to take that IQ. He's still this is his 4th year going in. He still needs to build his IQ a little bit more. Obviously, that still just comes with experience. I agree with you. Him being in that next, like, kind of explosive, just like storm down the court and just make things happen.
Yeah. And that is a good point on his IQ. I do think, we'll only see that go up in the next few years with more maturity and all that. We definitely already seen him grow in that aspect since he's become in the NBA. But, Yeah, I think another aspect he can improve on is the shooting, obviously from three. If he gets the 3-point shot down, he's going to be pretty unguardable.
He's going to be pretty unstoppable.
Yeah. So he was my number 8. Who's your number 8?
I got Jaren Jackson at number 8. Yeah, talked about him a little bit. Again, him just being that young player on Memphis, he took a step last year up a bit more with Ja Morant being out a lot. I think adding Ja back with him developed a bit more. He's going to be even better, and then they're going to be able to spread the floor even more and just make any kind of play work. He's also super quick as a 4 spot. He can actually get up and down the court quick with Ja. And then going into next year, I think he's going to be able to take that next step where Memphis is going to be a top 3 seed for sure again. Yeah,
I can definitely agree with that. Jaren will definitely play a big part on that Memphis team next year, and I think it's good for him that he's going to be playing the 4 pretty much full time on this team with them picking up Zach Edey and trying to get some other centers in there because they know Jaren wants to space the floor on the offensive end. He's a good shooter for the 4 spot. And so if he can space the floor for Ja out there and play some good defense, I think that's a recipe for success for them.
For sure.
But an argument I have to push back. I think Scotty Barnes is definitely better than Jaren Jackson right now. The stats don't say that because Jaren averages more points, more blocks, all that. But I think Scotty Barnes is just more of a, complete player. He can handle the ball more and he can guard multiple positions. Jaren is just a really good rim protector. Scotty Barnes, excels on guarding on the perimeter against those smaller guys. He has one of the longest wingspans in the NBA.
That's true.
So guarding those guards is really tough to score on Scotty Barnes. But
I'm excited to look back at the end of the season and just look at these lists and see what happened.
Yeah, definitely will be fun. So Scotty Barnes, my number 8. Your number 8?
Jaren Jackson.
Okay, we'll move on.
To number 7.
Number 7 for me was a guy we just talked about with Pascal Siakam.
Okay.
We just talked about him a lot. So who's your number 7?
I got Julius Randle at number 7.
So we kind of got the same 3 guys
One thing I wanted to say about Julius Randle. I feel like he's one of those players who can be pretty much that number 1 spot almost.
Definitely, yeah.
He is kind of reaching. He's going into his 30s pretty soon. So I will say that's kind of at the end. But I think he's one of those players who still can be that influence. If he went to Detroit, I feel like he would be a big influence in Detroit.
He would probably average 30 points a game in Detroit. He's definitely capable of being a number 1 option. I do see what you're saying.
Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to get one more thing out for him.
Yeah. But like we said, on this Knicks team, it might be tough for him to, try and be that number 1 option because that's where his mind's at. He probably thinks he's still the best guy out there. And then with the chemistry that Brunson and OG and DiVincenzo, all these guys have,
up a lot.
It could mess things up. I do think a big part for Julius Randle would be if he can prove that he can play the center position, because then that means the Knicks could run out a closing lineup, maybe not a starting lineup, because they'll probably want to start Mitchell Robinson for that rim protection, the rebounding, and all that.
Yeah.
But in the fourth quarter, going down in games, if you can trust Julius Randle to play the 5, that means your closing lineup will be Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, OG, and then DiVincenzo or Josh Hart, and then Julius Randle, which is a quick, fast. Everyone can shoot the ball. Everyone can put it on the floor.
But you can't get no rebound with that lineup.
Yeah, Julius Randle. If he can prove he can held down the 5, that would be so big for them. But you're right. The rebounding and the rim protection would probably be a down point for that lineup.
Julius does average almost 10 rebounds.
Yeah.
But
it's more the defense. More defense.
More defensive side. Yeah.
Well, I think it's going to start getting interesting here as we move past our number 7. So your number 7 was
Julius
Randle. Mine was Pascal Siakam. And my number 6, we're moving on, is a guy who used to be known as a player that every team would want to build around. A few years ago, the GMs would do a survey every year, and they would pick who their young guy they would want to build around, and this guy was always number 1 for 3 years straight. It's Karl Anthony Towns.
Yep.
Is he your number 6 as well?
Nah, he's not.
Okay, so he's my number 6. He got
pretty
moved.
Close to it, though.
Yeah, he got moved to the power forward spot after they acquired Rudy Gobert. Still a 7-footer out there, averaging almost 22 a game on 8 rebounds.
Yep.
He was in his 4th All-Star game already last year. Such a young player, already has played in 4 All-Star games. So
he's a great player.
He is.
A lot of people hate to or love to bash on him. Just because of his style and just his antics off the court. But he's still one of the most dominant power forwards in the league. I think any anybody who goes down on the court with him is going to be like, that's going to be a tough matchup right there.
Definitely.
Anybody. He's just a big force down low and then could also pass the ball really well.
Yeah, and he is self-proclaimed the best big man shooter of all time. He said this about himself after he won the 3-point contest 2 years or 3 years ago. Even if you don't agree with that, I definitely don't because of guys like Dirk and just some other guys that are big and can shoot. But he's definitely up there though.
He's up there.
He's a great shooter.
When he's a self-proclaimed person is shouting that, I don't know, especially someone who's still in the league.
Yeah.
I'll wait until someone outside of the league says who is the best one.
I love the confidence though. You kind of got to have that confidence.
Yeah, I can't bash on the confidence because Julius is probably still thinking he's the best player on the Knicks. But,
exactly. Yeah.
I mean, Jalen Brunson. But then, getting off track. Sorry. Yeah, Cat. No, not best shooter in the league. Still one of the best power forwards in the league though.
Definitely. He was my number 6.
A lot of people are going to hate me on my number 6.
I think I know who it's going to be.
I got Zion Williamson at number 6.
Yeah, Zion Williamson. He actually had a very, very good year last year and played 70 games.
Yeah, bounce back year for sure.
Yeah, the most games he's ever played in his career. Almost 23 a game.
Yep.
And I had Zion one spot higher, so he was my number 5.
Okay. Yeah, so I had Cat at 5.
Yeah.
But Zion just part of it might just be the pettiness, how the Pelicans kind of just handled this last year.
I can get that.
But Zion, he took the step up last year that we wanted to see. We wanted to see him play at least 70 games, which he did.
That. Yeah.
But he still needs to, I don't know, he didn't dominate a lot of the bigs last year. He's still a little like wonky getting up and down the court. You can still kind of see it. So his athleticism isn't what it was in college.
It was crazy in college, for sure.
He was supposed to be the next LeBron, anything like that. Yeah. But now we're hoping he's like just trying to get up past that. So Zion being right there at 6, I feel like he will need to go up to 25 points a game next year.
I think he definitely can.
Yeah. But then his rebounds, he needs to get down low and muscle out a lot of people.
Yeah, he's so strong. He should be able to.
Super strong. Yeah. But then, his quickness getting up and down when he's just had a standing jump isn't quick enough to get better than all these people who are 7 foot kind of towering over him.
That's true. He did seem a little out of shape last year, especially in the beginning of the year. I remember when they lost in the play-in or the in-season tournament to the Lakers, they lost by 40. Yeah. And Zion just really looked out of shape. I think it was in Vegas, and there was an interview that he did with Brandon Ingram, and they just both they didn't act like they cared as much as, the Lakers probably did. So a lot of guys bashed him for that and just looking out of shape. But we've seen a lot of things on social media in this summer of Zion. We see it every summer, but him looking so much skinnier, and I think he's going to have a huge year coming up if he can stay healthy.
I hope he does.
Yeah.
Him being our age pretty much, you like to see
it's
those.
Crazy, yeah.
I want to see him dominate the league. I want to see him be the person that people expected him to be.
Yeah, same here. And, he did have a healthy year last year, but it really, in the play-in game against the Lakers, if you remember right, he was dominating that game, and it was a very close game in the fourth quarter. I think he had over 30 points at the time, and then he gets hurt, and he doesn't come back. The Lakers end up winning. The Pelicans get knocked out.
He was the deciding factor for sure. Yeah,
or the Pelicans actually went on to play the Kings without Zion and then still beat the Kings.
We still...
So don't want to bring that up. But Zion, we need him healthy when it matters most, and he wasn't there again last year. And to go back to Karl Anthony Towns in the playoffs, if you want to compare both of those guys in the playoffs, Cat was so inconsistent in this last playoff run. Yeah. There would be one game where he would hit 7 threes, have 10 rebounds, just a crazy good game. And then the next game he'd foul out in the third quarter and have 5 points.
Yeah.
So
he tried to force a lot going back to Cat. I guess going forward to Cat.
Yeah. Got him at 5.
Yeah, I got him at 5. He tries to force a lot of shots, especially after going off for one game. Obviously keeps the confidence up, you shoot. But he kind of gets out of his head or in his head.
He does.
A little bit.
That's definitely a good point. And I think he lets a lot of the maybe the fans or the media get to him a little bit, like you said, get in his head a little, and you can really tell when he's out there. He's especially in the playoffs, he was just so bad on the defensive end with the fouling. Yeah. He in foul trouble almost every game.
He wasn't safe. There's a safe way to play defense. Yeah. And, in today's league, people are always looking to draw fouls.
Exactly.
Especially on a big man down low.
And he was definitely one of the biggest complainers I also saw in the playoffs with the refs, just never letting things go, always putting his arms up to the refs, which, the coaches probably hate. And his teammate, Anthony Edwards, also definitely hates.
Yep.
There was an interview with him and Kat at the post game in one of the playoff games. And he said, and he cussed, but he said, we need you to stay on the floor. Like, don't foul. That's all we need you to do is not foul, and we will win. And, and Kat obviously had trouble with that. They lost to the Mavericks in the conference finals. So next year, I think he can learn from that. He's still very young, like you said.
I mean, he's, 20, I want to say 27?
26, 27, yeah. But he's proven a lot in his young career already. Mm-hmm. Like I said, before guys like Wembanyama and all these guys got in the league, NBA GMs would always pick him as the one young star they'd want to build around. So, high praise for Karl-Anthony Towns.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But we can move on to our number 4.
Yeah.
My number 4 is Paolo Banchero from the Orlando Magic.
We got Paolo at 4 together.
Yeah, and he's going into his 3rd season right now. He had an amazing rookie year where he won Rookie of the Year, and then last year just got even better.
He's going to be, quietly the next face of the NBA.
Yeah,
he's
definitely going to be up there in the top
like
5
Tim
players.
Duncan type player. With Tim, Tim has all those accolades, like having 5 rings, 3 MVPs,
all just the defensive players all that. Yeah.
Like, people argue who the GOAT is for his accolades, and there's Tim. But then with Paolo, him being a rookie 2 years ago, and then now he's secretly averaging 23 points a game, almost 7 rebounds, 6 assists in 80 games.
He played 80 games.
80 games.
That is so impressive.
Yeah, that's what you want out of your star young player. You want that. And then with Orlando, actually ending their rebuild, they're kind of in that spot where they're becoming one of the East playoff teams.
They're definitely a very scary team out east, and they're only getting better, like we said. And Paolo, he averaged 22 a game last year, but then once the playoffs hit and they had that 7-game series against the Cavs, he took it to another level. He averaged 27 a game in that series, almost 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and he really seemed like one of the only scoring options for the Magic out there, and it didn't matter. He was getting doubled and maybe even tripled, but it didn't matter. He was still finding ways to score and impact the game.
Yep.
And all those games the Magic won in that series, he was the reason why.
I remember last year the matchups between the Kings and the Magic. Those games were some of the most exciting games I remember watching.
The last few years.
Yeah, the last few years.
Because De'Aaron hit
that half-court buzzer beater.
Exactly.
That was the start of that series between them. I feel like those two teams are a great example of one team finishing up a rebuild and another team finish up a rebuild in 2 different conferences.
Exactly.
And now they're both on the up and up.
I would say the Kings and the Magic are very similar, like you said. And going back to a few years ago, we saw them also have one of the best summer league games I've ever seen, where it was one of Paolo's first games in the summer league, and then Keegan's first game in the summer league.
Yeah.
And Keegan, they were going back and forth, and then Keegan hit that buzzer beater to send it into overtime, but then the Magic end up winning from Paolo scoring or getting an assist or something. But I just still remember that game like it was yesterday, and ever since I saw that, I knew Paolo was going to be special.
He's going to be a great player for years to come.
Yeah, and with most of these guys, we see them in their rookie year take off, and the league isn't ready for them. Guys don't have a scouting report, a lot of stuff like that, and then in their second year, there's a thing called the sophomore slump, and that usually happens to a lot of good players, and then they might come back in their third year and bounce back. But Paolo did not have a sophomore slump at all.
He's on the up and up the whole time.
He only got better in every category, and also he's a great defender as well. He's 6'10".
He's a big guy.
Yeah.
He's a big guy. He's got some muscle on him.
Exactly. And he, I just think he's so special. I think in the future, he might be able to be the best player on a championship team.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. League MVP possibly too.
Yeah. And like you said, it's very quiet. A lot of guys aren't talking about the Magic and Paolo Banchero and how good he was last year, but
it's one of those teams that's always kind of swept under the rug just because of how bad they've been in the recent years.
Yeah, they're one of my favorite teams, actually, thinking about it.
Okay.
Just their young core and how exciting they are. I love Jalen Suggs.
I guess now that I look at it, probably. And then, Jalen Suggs.
I know you love Franz
Gonzaga.
as well.
Yeah, Franz.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're pretty sick.
They're pretty tight.
They're nice. Yeah. But before we go to our break in 2 minutes, let's jump into our number 3. I think we're going to have...
Or should we shout out the honorable mentions first?
Yeah, that's a good idea. We'll jump into the top 3 when we come back. And our honorable mentions, so some guys that didn't make the list, which I really had a hard time keeping these guys off. But
Giannis, man, just didn't make my list. Okay, right.
he's lying, everybody. He's definitely lying. But some guys that didn't make the list that I definitely think could or will in the next few years are Evan Mobley from the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yep. He averaged 15 on 9 rebounds last year. Almost won Defensive Player of the Year as well.
I gotta give a shout out to Jeremy Grant.
Jeremy Grant, love his game. Yeah. I was hoping the Kings might get him this offseason. I was kind
of hoping that trade happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy with DeMar,
definitely
but Jeremy
was
definitely a trade that I would have been happy with.
If the Kings could have got both of them, they still might be able to because Jeremy Grant is definitely on the trade block.
We have money to sign.
It'd have to be Herter and probably Trey Lyles.
Yeah.
I think I'd do it.
I'd do it.
Jeremy Grant's averaging, what did he average last year? 21 a game. He's a great shooter.
Yeah.
Plays great defense.
I think that would be a great fit for us.
That would. Other guys that didn't make the list, Draymond Green, just a straight winner, but the stats just aren't there anymore. Yeah. Another guy I really wanted to put on but couldn't let the bias get in the way was Keegan Murray.
Keegan
Murray. But he's going to have another big year next year, especially with DeMar.
I say he averages 20 points a game next year.
If he averages 20, then the Kings might be a top 4 seed.
I think DeMar takes a dent in his scoring and Keegan takes over in the scoring right there.
Yeah, that would be huge. And we saw last year he had the best stats for ISO defense in the NBA. Yep. He was number 1 of not letting people score on him in ISO situations.
46% on catch and shoot threes.
Yeah, insane. I think
nuts.
he's the best shooter on the Kings right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Him and Herter.
Yeah, Herter kind of fell off. We need him to come back alive.
Yeah, and then some other guys real quick are Aaron Gordon, who's just a straight winner. The stats just aren't there.
Jabari Smith.
Yeah, he's also very solid. Kyle Kuzma. Jalen Williams.
Such a stacked
power forward list. Yeah,
such a stacked list.
Yeah, like Kuzma didn't make it, averaging almost 23 a game. And yeah, just a very solid player.
Yeah.
Also wanted the Kings to get him this offseason, but looking back, I'm happy they didn't.
Yeah.
DeMar is more of a leader, more of what we need. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
More of a winner.
Yeah, very true. Kuzma, he's won on the Lakers, but yeah, he was very, very young. But yeah, we will go to our first break. This is 96.5 FM. Tyler Texera and Luke Mitchell. We'll be right back in a few minutes.
Cheers.
And we are back here on KUBU Radio 96.5 FM. This is Beam City Sports. Your host, Tyler Texera, along with Luke Mitchell. And we are ranking our power forwards today. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
I feel like we probably have the same top 3. I don't know if it's the same order.
We will see. I
kind of hope it's not the same order.
Yeah, same here. But, before we get into our top 3, I just want to say this is our 10th week in a row of, having this show each week. And, 10 weeks in, feeling very, very good about this. It's only going up from here.
Only going up.
Yeah, and if you're listening on YouTube, again, please hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get the numbers up. And if you're listening live on the radio, thank you so much for that.
Again, send it to your mom, your grandma, your dog, your brother, your sister.
Yeah, anyone with a phone, send it. But let's jump into our top 3 real quick before we get into the rest of the show. So our number 4, we both had Paolo Banchero. We went over our honorable mentions before. Now we're jumping into the top 3. My number 3, it was really tough for me to put this guy 3 after the year that he just had, but I had to put Boston Celtics Jason Tatum at number 3.
I think we have the same list.
So you have Jason Tatum.
I have Jason Tatum at 3.
Yeah. If the Olympics didn't just happen and we saw what we saw in this Olympics, he would definitely be my number 2. But I had to put him number 3.
Yeah.
He had an insane year last year, though, and the disrespect on his name is just getting out of hand at this point.
No, yeah. He's a bit of a corny guy sometimes, but that's besides basketball. That's besides basketball. Dude
on the court,
a phenomenal player.
He's insane.
Yeah.
He averaged pretty much 27 a game last year on 8 rebounds, 5 assists, played 74 games. He was selected to his 5th All-Star game, and then also, of course, won the NBA championship. Wasn't the finals MVP. It was arguable, but Jaylen Brown deserved it, honestly.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, Tatum, he had a weird playoff run. Being on such a good team, it was like he didn't have the best games, but they were still winning. Yeah, and it just didn't really matter.
It's almost like the 2001-2002 Sacramento Kings basketball team.
It was like one guy struggles, the next guy steps up.
The other one steps up.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful basketball on the court. You can always rely on your team to pick you up and just like get you when you're down.
Yeah.
Derek White stepping up at key moments for him. Jaylen Brown holding it the whole time.
Drew Holiday
was one of my favorite guards in the league.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. feel like Jason Tatum having this team around him, also they get confidence boost from him.
Yeah.
Just the way he plays and how confident he is.
Yeah, yeah. You know, the down part of Jason Tatum's game, especially that we saw in the playoffs, was him settling for threes, especially step back threes, whatever you want to call it. And that was really, you know, making a lot of fans mad. Every game you see people talking about, what is Tatum doing? Why is he settling for all these threes? He can get to the basket whenever he wants. But you can't really knock him that much. He still averaged 25 in this playoff run, almost 10 rebounds, 6 assists. He shot 42% from the field, but did shoot 28% from three. So he was struggling from three.
I mean, 42% field goal, but then like averaging that many points, like he's still finding his points. Like you were saying, like he's still able to get down low and try and get his shots up.
I think he's going to come this year with even more of like a chip on his shoulder, though. I think and especially after this Olympic run where he was getting DMPs in the most important games. I don't think he hit a jump shot all Olympics.
He didn't
hit one jump shot.
0 for 16, I think, in the whole Olympics.
He did get to the basket when he wanted, but you know the jump shot just wasn't falling. But yeah, I think the disrespect on his name is getting a little crazy. Like we said, our boy Milo is going to be mad that we have him number 3.
I was going to say I have a few Boston fans that kind of watch this, and they always hit me up with the Boston disrespect.
Yeah.
No disrespect here. It's just there's 2 other better players than him at this spot.
Yeah, and I think what went into, you know, this ranking, as we can jump into our number 2, Kevin Durant. Both of us have KD number 2. I just when I went into ranking these guys, I thought to myself, because Tatum has such a good team and he won the championship, and that I wanted to put him at number 2. But if you put KD on the Celtics team, they're still going to win the championship.
They're still going to win it. So, if not they would have been even more dominant.
Exactly. So that's why I had to put KD above him.
Some of these series went to 7 games. The
Celtics were pretty dominant.
They were pretty dominant.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they still would have. Kevin Durant is one of the best scorers of all time. And then just the way he plays, it's so smooth, so silky. Just like anything he does, he makes it look easy. And then also I looked up the matchups between him and Jason Tatum.
I like that.
Tatum does have the edge on wins, but that's because Kevin Durant has always been like kind of on a shaky team the last few years.
Boston is just so dominant,
And then, but KD had the edge on points, rebounds, and assists.
Wow. That's interesting.
I think he averaged like 2 more points, like a rebound and a half more. I mean, obviously, these are by minuscule, small little bits, but at the same time, it's just he always has the edge on just matchups.
Yeah. KD's stats for last year were 27 a game, 6.5 boards, 5 assists, played 75 games, and he was selected to play in his 14th All-Star game, so that's a ton of All-Star games. And then also what went into our rankings was the Olympic play. We saw KD come back from his injury in the Olympics and just straight up get straight buckets.
And then also you saw the team change when he came back on court. They struggled before, like when he wasn't playing, and then right when he stepped on the court, everybody played with a different type of swagger.
Yeah, they felt it looked like they were way more comfortable with him out on the floor, just knowing if the shot clock's running low and you need a bucket, give it to that guy. Give it to KD and get the hell out of the way because he's going to get a bucket, and he's just so clutch too.
One of the most clutch
ever for sure. But yeah.
Seeing that trio, KD, Steph, and LeBron out there, that was a beautiful time.
It really was. But yeah, KD still, in his old age, still the second best power forward in the league. Definitely think he's going to have another big year. But we can jump into our number 1 guy, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Giannis.
Very well deserving at number 1. Almost won MVP last year, averaging 30 a game on almost 12 rebounds and almost 7 assists.
That's insane that you say almost won MVP with that kind of, because, I mean, 10 years ago, you see that stats like, oh, that guy won MVP.
7 years ago, that would have been unanimous
that's
MVP.
Unanimous MVP.
Everyone would have voted for him. But now with the stats just going up all around the league, like you said, he almost won it. I think he was second or third. But,
I think second, yeah.
He played in 73 out of the 82 games and played in his 8th All-Star game. He got hurt in the playoffs, though, so the Bucks got knocked out in the first round.
Yeah, I don't think they really would have made it much further after that.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people think they probably would have made it to the Eastern Conference, but I think they would have been knocked out the next round. Yeah,
it would have been a better matchup seeing them go against the Celtics than the Pacers did. But yeah, Giannis, I think next year going in, I expect another huge year out of him. I think him and Dame are going to come back with actually some more chemistry.
Yeah.
Dame had kind of a shaky year last year.
Going into Milwaukee off his first, like it's
and
a little
they're
different.
learning how to play together. They also switched coaches halfway through the year. They fired Doc Rivers, or they hired Doc Rivers.
They hired Doc Rivers.
They fired the guy before.
Which was kind of a wild move.
It was
leading them to wins all the time.
Yeah, but I don't know why. They just don't want to run the Dame and Giannis pick and roll, which when they acquired Dame, everyone was like, this is going to be the most unstoppable play in the league.
And then they never do it.
And they never do it. And even with Doc Rivers, it's like not something they do a lot.
I don't think Doc was ever really a good coach.
Man, that's what a lot of people are saying these days.
I mean, because... yeah, the Clippers were great. Lob City Clippers were great with him as a coach. But then do you ask how much was Doc? Because that team was insane.
Doc
Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre. I don't know.
Doc has blown the most 3-1 leads as a coach ever.
Says a lot.
He's blown a ton of leads in the playoffs, But I think next year he needs to, like I said, make sure Dame and Giannis get on the same page, even if it's not running pick and roll every play. Yeah.
I thought he got fired.
No, Doc Rivers still the coach on Milwaukee.
That's
this year.
Unfortunate. I'm sorry, Milwaukee fans.
So we'll see what Milwaukee can do. He is a former NBA champ, though, Doc Rivers, with the Celtics back in 08.
Back in 08, though, dog.
Back in 08 with that stacked team as well.
Yeah.
With Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Garnett, and Rondo.
Exactly. Can you ask how much of that was Doc?
Hey, I'm not arguing with you on that. But yeah, so that's our top 10 power forward list. Let's go over it real quick. You can go from number 10 to number 1.
I got Scotty Barnes at 10, Pascal Siakam at 9. I got Jaren Jackson Jr. at 8. I got Julius Randle at 7. I got Zion Williamson at 6. I got Karl Anthony Towns at 5, Paolo Banchero at 4, Jason Tatum at 3, Kevin Durant at 2, and Giannis Antetokounmpo at 1.
All right, and my number 10 was Jaren Jackson Jr., number 9 was Julius Randle, then number 8, Scotty Barnes. Number 7, I had Pascal Siakam. Number 6, I had Karl Anthony Towns. 5, Zion Williamson. 4, Paolo Banchero. 3, Jason Tatum. 2, Kevin Durant. And, of course, 1, Giannis Antetokounmpo. So that is our top 10 power forwards list going into the next year. And I'm very curious to see how we look back on this list after this year is over. But, yeah, we should jump into our next part of the show. It's a big part of the show for us because it's
very
definitely one of our favorite guys. Finally getting some respect. De'Aaron Fox is getting his own signature shoe, signed under the Curry brand. He is the only NBA player under Curry brand.
Kind of that's pretty historic, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're watching on YouTube, you look back. Got the Fox jersey, got the Steph Curry jersey right here.
Some of the greatest point guards of all time.
Definitely, and these are my 2 favorite players of all time, so it just means a lot to me seeing De'Aaron and Curry just become so close and teaming up. And this Curry, it's going to be called the Curry Fox 1.
That's pretty tight.
That's pretty tight.
I like that a lot.
I am 1,000% going to want to get this shoe.
I mean...
my 2 favorite
buy
guys.
Basketball shoes. I think I owned 1 pair of basketball shoes back in high school for PE basketball.
Yeah,
they were some Hyper Dunks.
Okay,
some maybe $90.
Yeah,
this might be the first pair of basketball shoes that I buy.
Yeah, and they're going to be low top shoes, so he better be wearing some ankle braces like Curry does because we cannot have him having an ankle injury.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a low top shoe. It's labeled itself as a runner shoe in mind of De'Aaron's speed and ability to cover maximum ground on the floor. He is the fastest guy in the league, so
probably the fastest to ever play. I want to say I think he's the fastest to ever play.
I think so too, and the time that he runs up and down the floor, I think it's been timed before on some of his fastest, like getting the ball off the rim. Yeah, the fast breaks. He is the fastest player. Him and Westbrook have the top speeds ever, and John Wall, of course. But yeah,
De'Aaron would beat Tyreek Hill and Noah Lyles in a race.
Ooh, that's fun to think about. But but this shoe hasn't been revealed yet. We don't know exactly what it looks like, but the Curry brand is going on a China tour next week, and Steph Curry and De'Aaron Fox will both be there. So everyone expects that to be the unveiling of the shoe out in China, and then hopefully it gets put on the market.
Curry is going to be one of China's new favorite players.
Yeah. He's definitely loved out there already. I'm sure that.
Yeah.
But De'Aaron might get some love out there too now.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because Steph is already loved with everything.
Yeah,
so Curry or De'Aaron joining his team and everything.
Yeah.
Going out there, I mean,
pretty awesome.
Yeah, pretty tight.
But real quick, I just remember Curry is probably the most, like, even more than LeBron these days. I think he's the biggest, like, fan favorite, especially going overseas.
Yeah,
like we saw in the Olympics,
probably.
just all these clips of them walking out of the bus and stuff. And when Curry walks out, it is a different type of buzz. I mean, LeBron too, but Curry might be even more loved.
I kind of want to say it's probably just with the time how when LeBron was drafted back in the early 2000s, just like internet media wasn't like around like the hype it is now.
Yeah.
Now with Curry just being one of the best league's players.
Yeah.
Or players in the league. Just with how easy it is for media to just blow it up and everything. Yeah. More eyes have probably been on him than, I mean, LeBron, obviously, one of the probably the greatest player of all time.
Also, I think what goes into it is like Curry's been with one team his whole career, and LeBron, he switched a lot. So you can't, it's kind of impossible to hate Curry at this point, even if you're like a diehard Kings fan, probably like you. But
you
can't hate Curry.
He's one of the most respectable players.
He's just so, he's just goated, honestly.
And then also I want to say is you think about Jordan with his Jordan shoe brand and everything. Curry's going to be one of those players when he's retired.
Yeah.
Like Curry shoes are going to be bought decades after he's done playing.
Yeah.
Now Fox signing with them, these are going to be. I mean, it's just great to see it coming to Sacramento and De'Aaron having this whole thing back behind him. It's pretty awesome.
Definitely love to see it. But now we will jump into 1140. They ranked the top 40 Sacramento Kings of all time. Very interesting list. A lot of names we know on there. Some names we also don't know, don't recognize on there. So we'll name them all, though. We'll start with the top 3. I know you were very hyped about the top 3.
Oh, I love this top 3.
Yeah, number 1 was Chris Webber, best Sacramento King of all time.
Yes,
I think well-deserved.
Yeah.
Number 2 was Mitch Richmond, another legend. And the number 3, Peja Stojakovic.
Peja.
Which is your boy, Peja.
Dude would kill in today's NBA.
He would.
He would be. I think he would have the highest 3-point percentage in the league.
Yeah.
And any team would pay him out the butt for this.
No, Peja, he's one of the best shooters of all time, and I love to see him number 3 on this list.
Yeah.
But it was hard for me to put the next 3 guys, or the next 2, I should say, below him. Yeah. DeMarcus Cousins was the number 4. And then De'Aaron Fox already at number 5.
A little tough. It is tough to see.
I wanted to see Boogie, in the top 3, personally, but I do understand it.
I mean, I would have.
Not a lot of winning.
Not a lot of winning went down
with that team, but it wasn't his fault at all.
No.
He did everything he could to try and win out there, and he just put on for Sacramento when he was here.
Go back and watch our last episode, and we talked about his interview.
Yeah, that was a fun one. We talked a lot about Boogie, but De'Aaron at number 5 is really cool to see. Still. He's the best player on the team right now. It's very cool to see him already in the top 5 Kings ever.
Definitely.
So love that. He's only going to go up on that list, of course. I think if he stays a King his whole career, he can end up being number 1.
Probably.
Yeah. We got to zoom through. Number 6, Vlade Divac. 7, Mike Bibby, and 8 was Domantas Sabonis. So
Domantas made it up there quick.
Another guy that's on the team right now, Domantas Sabonis. Also love to see Mike Bibby up there. I just listened to him on Jeff Teague's podcast, and he talked about how when he was drafted by the Vancouver Grizzlies, it really made him so depressed. And then he ended up in Sacramento, and that changed his whole life around. He just started loving he was so happy, and they were winning because he's a winner.
Yeah.
He's been winning his whole life.
He's got that dog in him.
Yeah, he definitely does. And being it was an expansion team. So he's the number 1 pick in the draft from the Vancouver Grizzlies back when they first started. And they were obviously a horrible team. But then he gets moved to Sacramento eventually and starts winning. And he talked about, the refs in that game 6 a little bit and everything that happened. So,
he got elbowed in the nose by Kobe.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I watched the documentary on that the other night.
That was a dirty move, Kobe. Man. Dirty move.
Yeah, for real. But Mike Bibby 7, Vlade 6, and then DeMontis was number 8. And then 9 through 11 was Doug Christie at number 9, Reggie Theus at number 10, and Brad Miller was number 11. Yeah. I don't know if Brad Miller should be this high.
I don't think he should be that. I think
but
Bobby
I do
Jackson,
love his game.
I love his game. Bobby Jackson and Kevin Martin should be higher than him, though.
Yeah, I think, Brad Miller was definitely a winner and definitely impacted winning. Yeah. I know it was before our time, really being able to watch every game. But Brad Miller, he's just a great hustle guy, from my eyes, from what I remember about him. He was just a great hustle guy, made the right play all the time.
Definitely.
But Bobby Jackson and Kevin Martin, like you said, were more putting the ball in the basket.
Yeah. I mean, Kevin Martin, he played on the team when obviously they were struggling quite a bit. At the end of the play, I think he made the playoffs once with us, and then he went to Houston, but he averaged like 24.
Over 20 for sure.
On
yeah.
our team.
Yeah, with the ugliest jump shot. One of the ugliest
probably
jump
the
shots.
ugliest jump shot.
Yeah. But it was cool to see Mike Bibby going back to the interview he did with Jeff Teague the other day. He talked about Bobby Jackson, playing with Bobby Jackson, and he said that was the guy that he played with that didn't pass at all. Like every time Bobby Jackson touched the ball, he was getting it up there. And that's just honestly a good thing, especially from your sixth man. You want that off the bench.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty funny that he was talking about Bobby Jackson, saying that if it's end of the shot clock, give it to Bobby Jackson because he's gonna get it up. Yeah, but number 14, Wayman Tisdale. Number 15, Jason Williams, fan favorite. And then number 16 was Ron Artest.
Met at Sanford. Artest.
Yeah, that was his name back.
Again.
Yeah, well, that's Ron Artest though. Number 16. And then
I gotta say something. I don't think Jason Williams should be that high on the list.
Wow. Okay.
Obviously,
he didn't win a lot.
Obviously, a fan favorite, and then also you look back at his stats and how he played.
Yeah.
Dude didn't do that great.
Yeah, it was really the highlights.
It's really like he's a highlight player. Yeah. He was a flashy player.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he was a bad player, but
yeah.
I mean, I think Rudy Gay should be higher.
Yeah.
We're about to get to him. But
yeah, I think it was really just like he's more of like a legend and like a Sacramento icon kind of just for all the highlights that he made while wearing that Kings jersey, the elbow pass, all these behind the backs, just crazy stuff. I wish he was playing in the league today because I would love to see that. But so that is our 16, and then 17 was Tyreek Evans.
Shout out Tyreek.
And then number 18, Rudy Gay. 19, Eddie Johnson. 20, Lionel Simmons. So I want to take a minute on Tyreek Evans. He won Rookie of the Year, and then he just only went down after that. Pretty sad.
His career was over before it started.
Yeah, him and DeMarcus could have been one of the best duos in the league.
That duo would have been insane.
So super young together and complemented each other very well, I think.
Yeah.
But the Kings kind of messed up Tyreek when they tried to move him to the point guard position.
It didn't work out well
out of the point guard position, because he was a point guard.
Shooting guard, small forward.
And that just it messed up his game.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Kings was Rudy Gay, of course. Just a straight bucket.
2K legend.
2K demon. He is insane. And he also was in real life as well. He's so athletic and can shoot it. He's one of the best mid-range guys I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, at 20, we got Harrison Barnes.
21.
Oh, yeah. 21, we got Harrison Barnes. 22, Otis Thorpe. 23, Spud Webb. Number 24, Corliss Williamson. And number 25 was Isaiah Thomas.
IT.
Love
maybe
seeing
we'll see
IT
him
on
back.
there.
Maybe, who knows?
Yeah, maybe as like a coach, bench.
Player coach
type of thing. Yeah.
I don't really think we need that.
Yeah.
But
would be cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, love IT, of course. Harrison Barnes being 21. Kind of insane if you think about it. I don't know how I feel.
I will say with his first few years here in Sacramento, he did do really well.
Yeah.
He was kind of that first piece to change the culture in Sacramento.
Yeah.
From that dump team back to a playoff team. I want to say he was the first piece that stuck around and kind of kept a core while everything else was kind of being assembled. So I respect it.
Yeah, give some respect to Harrison, honestly. Yeah, the stats might not be there like Isaiah Thomas was when he was with the Kings, probably averaging over 22 a game. But Harrison, like you said, just changed the culture kind of. Yeah. Was one of the longest tenured Kings when he was here. So, yeah. And then we got Malik Monk already making 26. Then we got Buddy Hield at 27, Jason Thompson 28, who I love.
I got to shout out Jason Thompson.
JT.
Thompson is. I was excited about him that was right when I was getting into basketball, as a Kings fan, and seeing him, I was like, Kings are going to be amazing this year.
Yeah, he was like that old classic power forward that could hit that little mid-range jumper, get a lot of rebounds. And he also stayed with the Kings for so long, so love seeing him. Buddy Hield 27 on there is kind of crazy.
Put him lower. He's already talked too much crap about Sacramento.
But his stats were pretty good on the game.
One of the best shooters.
Love seeing Malik above him, though, at 26 already. Yeah. I think he's only going to go up in this list, of course. Definitely could be maybe in the top 20 after this year for the all-time Kings.
For sure.
And then we'll move on. Then we got 29, Walt Williams. 30 was LaSalle Thompson. 31, Scott Pollard.
I got to put Scott Pollard up higher than that.
Yeah, I know you love Scott Pollard. But yeah, then 32, Kenny Smith.
Kenny the Jet.
Then we got Hito Turkoglu at 33. Then we already got Keegan Murray at 34. Love to see that. He's only obviously going to go up on this list as well.
Oh, yeah.
He's still so young. Then 35, we got Brian Grant. 36, Olden Polynice. 37 was Francisco Garcia, who was DeMarcus Vet we talked about last week.
Yep.
Loved him on the Kings. 38 was Bogdan Bogdanovic. He had so many iconic moments here in Sacramento, even though he was only here a few years. So love seeing him on this list. 39, John Salmons.
I know you're
honestly,
a big fan of him.
I am. He was one of my favorites when I first started getting into basketball.
Hell yeah.
He was always starting at the 3 for them. And then 40, Danny Ainge.
The GM of the Jazz.
Yes, the GM of the Jazz, Danny Ainge. He was a little point guard out there.
Yep.
But yeah, so some honorable mentions that didn't make their lists were Sharif Abdul-Rahim, who I know only played in Sac for, I think, 1 year, but he was very good. And Antonio Carr, don't know much about. Antoine, sorry. Obviously showing my age right there. But then we got Darren Collison, who I love.
Darren Collison was amazing.
I had season tickets when they had him starting at the point, and he was one of my favorite guys. Tyrese Halliburton didn't make it. He was only here for about 1.5 years. And then we got Rodney McRae. Rajon Rondo.
Should have been on there,
even though he only played 1 year. Led the league in assists. Got a Rondo jersey that year, so wish he stayed, honestly. Then we got Marcus Thornton, who a lot of Kings fans were mad he wasn't on this list. I think he definitely should have been on this list.
Probably. Yeah.
Like, he had a lot of big games. I was actually at his career high game against the Indiana Pacers back in 2012, I think, or 2013 when they played the Indiana Pacers. He had 42.
Damn.
He had 42 that game.
Damn.
Marcus Thornton was lighting it up. And I remember it so well. Beno Udrih didn't make the list.
I got to give a shout out to Beno.
That was my first jersey ever, actually.
I got a basketball in my room signed by Beno Udrih.
Wow, love Beno. Yeah. That was the first jersey I ever got.
Udrih.
Yeah. He was nice. And then Bonzi Wells, who I know a lot of Kings fans definitely loved. I was at the barbershop yesterday, and the guy cutting my hair was a big Kings fan, and he shouted out Bonzi Wells and said that was one of his favorite guys back in the day.
Hell yeah.
Just a beast on the offensive rebounds and, defense and all that.
There we go.
And then another guy, Mike Woodson, didn't make the list. But yeah, that was their top 40 list. It's kind of fun to look at.
It's a cool list. Just looking back at some history and just kind of, bringing back some memories for a lot of Kings fans.
Definitely. Yeah, so shout out to 1140. That's Kyle Draper's show out there.
Shout out Kyle Draper.
Yeah, so that's a fun list. We'll maybe make our own next year. We'll see how it goes.
That'd be pretty tight.
But yeah, so let's move on. With 2 minutes left in our show, we have some quick Major League Baseball news, of course, for our future Sacramento A's next year. Lawrence Butler is a stud.
On a tear.
He just won another Player of the Week for the A's, even though they are not winning a ton of games. Obviously, they're playing better the second half of the year, but still down there in the standings. This week, Lawrence Butler hit 500, 6 home runs, and 10 RBIs.
That's insane.
In 7 days, he did this.
6 home runs in 7 days.
And he's just a stud out there. He's probably my favorite on the team right now.
This is what other sports players think they can do when they come into the MLB or come play baseball. They're like, I could swing a bat, I could hit a home run.
Yeah.
But this is insane stats right here.
Insane.
500 batting average in a week is nuts.
It really is, and he just plays with so much passion out there. So love to see that. But before we close out, we got 1 minute left.
Also, gotta say, he's one player I heard in an article where he's excited to come play in Sacramento. He's excited to come up north.
I'm gonna hit him up. I'm gonna try and get him on. I'm gonna try and get an interview with him.
Let's try and get Lawrence Butler.
I was thinking about that last night, but I would love to have Lawrence Butler on the show.
That would be pretty awesome.
It's not as big yet as he will be. We know he's definitely gonna be big.
That's why we gotta get him.
That's why we gotta get him now. And he's going to want to be in Sacs. So
if
that's
anybody knows Lawrence Butler who's listening,
I'm going to message him today.
Yeah.
But before we close out, we got the NFL starting tomorrow. I know a lot of people are excited about that.
In Brazil. We got the
Ravens at the Chiefs.
And the Chiefs in Brazil.
So, wow, it's in Brazil. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. We'll see Patty Mahomes going against Lamar Jackson.
And for any Niners fans, they play Monday against the Jets.
Okay. Yeah.
Any Raiders fans still in Sac, they play Sunday at 1. And then any Saints fans, who that nation, playing Carolina on Sunday.
Okay. So the NFL is starting up. Definitely going to have to talk more about that next week.
Yep.
But yeah, it's been a good show. Thanks for listening to 96.5 FM, Beam City Sports. This is Tyler Texera and Luke Mitchell.
Like, share, subscribe, everything.
And thanks for another week.